stray. Go.
All right, everybody, welcome to Points of Interest for another amazing show for you. I'm your host, Josh, and
Terry Lee.
And we have something really exciting in store for you tonight. We have two gentlemen on standby right now that we're going to get on the line here in just a minute. And both of them, who do not know each other, have both had experiences to where they were literally clinically dead for a period of time and then brought back to life. And they both have a couple amazing stories of what they experienced when they were actually
clinically dead.
Yeah. So fortunately they both agreed to come on the show tonight and share both of their stories, and we decided we're going to bring them both on the air at the same time so they could hear each other's story, as well as maybe confirm that if they both had similar experiences or if there was differences, you know, kind of go from there and really see what it's all about. So it's going to be a really, really fascinating night. We are excited about this one.
Yeah, definitely pull out your notepad and take some notes on this one. It sounds like it's going to be very interesting.
And for anybody who's tuning into the station for the very first time, if you're on the main page of the website, you can actually click on the chat button, and it'll take you over to the chat room where you could actually interact with people and ask questions for our guests tonight and whatnot, and you'll still be able to hear the show on that page. So I just wanted to make it clear you're not locked into the front page. You can actually join us in chat, and we'll try to monitor it through the night. Before we do start the show, though, I just want to bring up a couple of events that are coming up here locally in Salt Lake. This Saturday night, Paranormal Chaos is actually hosting an event. It's going to be at the Leslie Family Tree Restaurant in Santaquin. There is still some open tickets left. And do you remember how they go about getting tickets?
Yeah, there actually is a link on the page to prepay through PayPal. Now, if you choose not to do the PayPal deal, you can pay at the door. It is an additional $10 for the event. And we do have a cutoff point, and this is, you know, as far as how many people we're going to allow into the investigation and the event. So you really need to prepay, because I'd hate for them to drive all the way down there and try to come into the event and us having to tell them, sorry, we have no room.
Right, and then get turned away. And we definitely don't want that. Just like we don't want people who's going to sign up and say they're going to go and then not show up, because that just ruins it for somebody else who could have came out and experienced it with us.
Yeah, and certainly. And also, it kind of messes us up, because we try. There are always a few stragglers, and we try to postpone it until everyone that has, you know, joined the event shows up. So that kind of messes up everything. So what you'd need to do is prepay, and you can do that up till Saturday. You need to have all of your payments in by noon. So.
All right. Now, on top of that, next month we also have another one at Camp Floyd, right?
That is correct. On the 21st of September, we're hosting another event at Camp Floyd. Now, we have extended the invitation to you, Josh, to come out and do a live event from that night. Granted, it's a little bit shorter than what we're used to dealing with as far as an investigation, but the site actually warrants us to be able to go into multiple buildings at the same time, which is a fantastic thing that they've extended us the courtesy of being able to do. So.
Yeah, so we got some things in store, and not to mention, next Thursday night, I'm actually going to be at the Comic-Con here in Salt Lake. I've actually been invited to be on their paranormal panel, so I guess there's going to be a Q&A session with one of the local radio DJs, and there's going to be quite a few other heads of quite a few other groups and organizations out there involved as well. So If you have tickets, come out. We're gonna be out on Thursday, starting at about 7 o'clock, I believe. I'm not sure how late it runs, but stop by, say hi.
Yeah, and if you'd like more information about that, you can actually find them on Facebook. Type in Salt Lake City Comic Con, and it will actually take you to their page so you can view all of the events that they're going to have going on so that you know what you're getting for your money.
All right, I think we've done enough rambling for everybody. Why don't we go ahead and let me shoot Philip a message, make sure he's ready to go. Let's see, create a group conversation. Oh, okay, let's see.
And he's typing now.
Yep, you could hear me pecking away on the keyboard. All right, let's see. Philip, you're ready. Please stand by. We have a guest that keeps popping in and out. I'm not too sure why.
I've noticed that the last little while, and I don't know if it's the servers or where the issue is, but if you'll stay in the chat room for a minute, even though it says connection refusal, it will eventually start running.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've noticed that, and I've noticed all the problems with Facebook too. So it's getting to be a normal thing for Facebook to change everything when you get, in your mind, you know what you're doing. You don't really know what you're doing.
Right. And, of course, if anybody misses the show tonight, we are recording it, and we do intend on uploading it within the next day or so. So you could still listen to it. You could still download it and, kind of hear what these guys have to say, because I can guarantee you're not going to want to miss it. So it looks like we had another guest pop back in. Hopefully they're working okay this time, because I could see them. So... all right, Philip, I haven't got a response back from you, so I'm going to just try to put you on the spot and call you. So here we go with Philip. Hello, is this Philip?
This is me.
Hello, sir. Welcome to Points of Interest on TIPA Online. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing quite well, sir.
Good. I want to start off with thanking you for taking the time to come on the station and share your experiences with us.
Yes, definitely.
It's my pleasure.
All right, and I got to tell you, we've been enjoying your music, if you hadn't noticed. So we've been playing it. You want to tell us a little bit about your band before we get rolling?
Yes, I'm in a band called Post Rapture Party. We are a gothic post-punk band. We've been around for about 3 years. We played a lot of shows in the Seattle area. And we have an album coming out within the next 6 months, and I need to go and finish my recording.
Well, that sounds fabulous. You need to let us know right as soon as that album's ready to be released, though.
Oh,
okay?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So right. Is there a website that we can check out your band?
Yes. Let's see. We have a Facebook page. Basically, look up Post Rapture Party, and that's us.
And you said you were out of Seattle, is that correct?
We are out of Seattle, yes.
Okay, brilliant. We'll try to hook you up with a link on our website for his band also, for all the listeners.
Yeah, and I need to let out a little secret. I actually know Philip personally because he used to actually live here in Salt Lake, so... he was one of the lucky ones and got the heck out of Dodge. No. So, all right. I'm sharing a link to your Facebook page for Post Rapture Party right now.
Okay.
All right, Philip. We are going to now try to bring in James. And tell us a little bit about James before I call him in.
Well, when I actually contacted James with regard to this particular topic, Philip, I was actually very shocked at how you almost mirrored Experiances.
Well, you're not supposed to tell them that.
Well,
yet.
it was like there was a few differences, but for the most part, I was actually quite shocked. Now, I don't know if you're aware of where he lives. He lives in Louisiana, so he's back east. You're all the way to the west. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking that you guys are sharing similar experiences. So this is just going to be an epic night as far as being able to hear each other's stories and, actually being able to converse with one another.
Absolutely.
And James is part of a paranormal group as well, so.
So James has had it from both ends, right?
Yeah, pretty much. He's hunted the dead, and he's also been the dead.
Well, I got a secret for you. So is Philip.
Yeah. So, and that in itself is kind of a quirk, I would think, being able to see it from both sides.
Absolutely. Right. It pretty much told me that there was life after death, and that the apparitions and stuff that I was seeing when I was hunting were not caused just by the mind or telekinesis.
So yeah, that had to have been probably one of the very first questions you asked yourself after having experienced your near-death experience. It would probably be, wow, what I did experience is now validated.
Exactly.
No question in your mind, yep.
All right. Well, right now I'm going to try to call in James, and let's have him introduce himself. Here we go. Wrong mouse. Okay.
He's got lots of mice over here running around.
All right. It looks like we're waiting. Hello, James. Are you there with us?
I'm here.
Welcome to the show, sir. I wanted to do the same thing for you that I did with Philip. I want to thank you right off the bat for willing to come on the show tonight and share your experience of what you went through, and also to talk a little bit about your team.
It's for one, it's my pleasure to be here. I'll give a little introduction myself. I'm the founder of a paranormal group in Poughkeepsie, New York. That's my location. And I was contacted by, one of your guests, and, asked to be on a show about near-death experiences, and here I am tonight.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. So I want to start off right off the bat, and I just kind of want to have you introduce, who you are, what you're all about, and tell us a little bit about your team.
Yeah, sure. Like I said, we're located out of Poughkeepsie, New York.
New York.
We travel, around a lot. We go to different states when needed. We primarily stick to the surrounding counties here in New York. My team, they consist of numerous backgrounds. I have an ordained elder who's on my team.
Oh, wow.
We work with, demonologists when need be. Knock on wood, we hadn't had to, so that's a plus. It's basic, people that have the same interest as, I did, and we formed a team.
Wow. So you've actually gone to the extreme, being that you're working with a demonologist and dealing with the more malevolent spirits that are out there. So do you think, after having done your investigations, that the paranormal was validated, your investigative side of you, was that validated by your near-death experience?
It definitely was, to some point. Now, once you read on it on the internet, there's a lot of, skepticism about near-death experiences and things like that. Some scientists, even doctors, say that, it's a trigger of the brain, a hard impact to the head. It causes some things to go on that seem like it's real, but it isn't. As far as my outtake on it and perspective of it, it was very real, what I dealt with. So again, it depends on, if you're closed-minded about it or, if you're open to it.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine, having gone through both what you and Philip went through, that you'd almost have to embrace the experience as far as validation from what you've seen.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've done hundreds and hundreds of cases. Some, like you said, weren't so nice, but we just...
malevolent.
Do what we have to do.
Yeah, the malevolent spirits. Now, I don't know, Philip, did you have any experiences where you were dealing with malevolent spirits?
I had one experience. I can't talk too much about it, but I can say that it was the scariest 48 hours of my life.
Okay. So do you think that just your paranormal expertise that you had behind you at the time you had your near-death experience, do you think that played a role maybe in you being able to be remembering some of the experiences that you had while you were clinically dead?
Well, let me tell you this. For about a month before I went in for my surgery and had my experience, I was reading up on astral travel and reading books on it and doing like meditations in order to get out of my body. I just didn't know it was actually going to work.
Wow. So you're thinking maybe there might be an environmental type, bridge, I guess, that you had tapped in prior to. You think that helped you to remember your experiences when you were clinically dead?
I think so, and I think because the last time I had almost died due to a upper GI bleed in 2007, I saw nothing, so that really shook my paranormal faith, I guess, that I had to see this. I had to experience this, just so that I could get back on key.
Okay. Did anything happen to you, James, that may have shook your faith in knowing that there's something once you are dead to experience?
Definitely. I mean, what happened to me when I had my near-death experience, I was such, at a young age that I really didn't have too much knowledge of what happened or what was going on until I I grew up and I kind of just read up on it and, look back on everything that I've witnessed and experienced through that, ordeal, that incident that I had. And it definitely made me more open-minded to, the afterlife and things like that, which is why I became a paranormal investigator. Everything that I've seen, it's just, it's too real to be just something in your imagination. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I definitely know what you mean.
Then,
one of those deals where you can't really explain to people.
Yeah, it took a real long while for me to come out with this, openly talk about, my ordeal and stuff like that. I mean, now being a paranormal investigator, I mean, there's still people that, look at you like you're crazy or you're the devil or a witch or something like that. And we're far from that. We're ordinary people that are just going out to try to help other people that are in need and, experiencing things that either we have already experienced or, just need help.
Oh, exactly. And that's what we're all about, is helping each other. That's,
Agreed.
kind of awesome that you guys both come from the paranormal background. And you do share the common experience of near death or being clinically dead. It sounds like both of you were actually clinically dead.
I don't know if I was clinically dead. My doctor is being very evasive. I know that I got really close.
Okay.
Well, they say that, when that happens, you're either really close to death or you're actually pronounced clinically dead. So it could work either way.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, for the amount of time that I've been out, once I fell off a wall that was about 20 feet. And once I hit the pavement beneath me, that's when it all happened. I could actually see myself lying there. I could see my dad coming to pick me up and bring me home. He laid me out on the kitchen table. I didn't live too far from the, site where it happened. I seen, the paramedics at the time. I didn't know what they were doing or performing, but, thinking back on it, it was definitely, CPR or some form of resuscitation. They were, giving me oxygen and pumping my chest. I seen all this. I seen me, being brought out into the ambulance ride even, all the way up into the hospital. So again, for all that to take place, but to me, it seemed like it was very quick. It happened in just a blink of an eye. But they say that, I was out of it for a good 5 hours. How long could I have been dead or close to death? I can't tell you.
So, do you believe, either one of you, believe that even in a near-death state, such as coma or trauma, such as what you just described, James, do you believe that that might also be a way to have a near-death experience?
Oh, definitely, definitely. There's no doubt about it, no question in my mind. Other people may challenge the fact, but in my own experience, in my opinion, definitely.
I think that near-death experience is just an out-of-body experience, except you're closer to death. And people have out-of-body experiences all the time. So, yeah, I think the states can definitely induce a near-death experience.
Awesome. Okay, why don't we defer to Philip, and let's really go into depth.
Okay.
As far as what you're, can you kind of give us a setup of where you were in your life, what you were
Yes.
doing?
On about 3 days after my birthday, I was rushed to the hospital because of some stomach pains. This would be about 6-7 months ago. It was in March. They did a CAT scan on me, and they found out that I had kidney cancer. So I made an appointment to get it taken out, which on July 25th I did. What happened was, well, I'll tell you what happened. I ended up in ICU, and the day I got out of ICU, and this is rather strange, I was in my bed, and all of a sudden I was somewhere else. And what I saw was this. I saw a white room that looked like it was made of pixels. The walls seemed to have a weird kind of dust on it. And instantly I knew I was out of my body. I knew this wasn't a dream because of how vivid it was. And I knew in my, I was thinking this wasn't a dream, but I was wondering where the hell I was. There was a staircase in the middle of the room, and so I started to float towards it. And that's the only way I can describe it. It was silent, and it felt kind of like how you swim, I guess. But that's not really how it was, but that's how I can describe it.
So it was like a weightless feeling, or?
Absolutely, yes. Okay. You basically thought of where you were going, and that's where you were. So I started going up these stairs, and I could tell that on the sides of like the room that there were beings, but I never really saw them. I think I got a glimpse of them, but it's hard to remember. But everything that I saw was made of geometric shapes, and which is weird because I'm not a math person at all. And you would think that if I was creating this in my mind, that I would make something that I have a point of reference for.
Well, yeah.
But I had no point of reference for this. I continued to go up the stairs, and I ended up on the other floor, and I saw a person that looked like they were kind of made of a box. It's out of they were made out of squares, I guess, is how you can describe it.
So like layers of squares.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. I recognize this person, which makes me wonder if we all go to this place while we're sleeping. Anyways, I was wondering why this person was there, but then I started just going up the stairs again. And on the next level, there was kind of a platform in the center of the room. And At this point, I was wondering pretty much what was going on, but I wasn't afraid. And that's probably the most important thing here, is that there was no fear while I was in the experience.
Okay, what about pain, or were you feeling, I mean, did you have any awareness that you were in pain, or maybe, that it was hot or cold, or
Nope.
do you remember any of the physical sensations you would normally feel in the human body?
Other than I felt like I was in some kind of body, there was none. I didn't feel any pain or anything that I could put with my physical body. What I felt was a sense of peace, and it was like, oh, so this is what it's like.
So almost an
anyway.
aha moment then. Almost an aha moment then,
This
it's
whole
really
thing was
not
an
that
aha
bad.
moment.
Yeah. Okay. Then what happened?
So I went and started climbing the staircase again, and I started to blink out. And this whole entire time, it was like I was there. I was there, and I could, I'm experiencing this whole thing. But when I started to blink out, I started to gain awareness of my actual body. And at a brief moment, I felt like I was at two places at once.
Wow.
And then I was back in my body. I was wondering what just happened. Because, like I said, this was about a day after my surgery. And I thought I was scared for a moment, but I wasn't. I was also kind of fascinated by it.
Okay, I do have one question.
Yes.
Now, you said you experienced this within 24 hours of your surgery.
Yeah.
Had you, at that point, I know that a lot of times coming out of anesthetic is more difficult for some than others. Do you feel as though you had come completely out of the anesthetic?
See, that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering why I had this delay. Because I had this thing go on for about the other night, too. I also had an experience. Maybe it was the anesthetic that caused it to happen. Because at this point, I had no idea that how close I came on the operating table. It was only the next day when my mom came in, my mom told me. And she said that basically you tanked on the operating table, you started hemorrhaging, and they had to give you like a transfusion. And you came really close to death, and I didn't know that.
And you said the doctor was being so vague as to not answer your questions?
Yeah, he wasn't answering my questions. He told my mom that that surgery took 10 years out of his life.
Wow.
And told my mom it was close.
He didn't want to put you through more stress while you're trying to recover, I bet.
I bet that's probably part of it, I would think.
Now,
I'm also thinking the possible litigation, which I wouldn't sue my doctor for taking my kidney out.
right. Well,
That's part of my kidney out.
that's right.
Yeah.
Now, Philip, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is actually the second time, right?
The second time I've had a near-death experience, or the second time I've almost died?
The second time you almost died.
Yeah, this was the second time I almost died.
And what would you say the biggest difference between the first time and this time is?
Well, as you know, Josh, and I'm sure I've told you this, and I told everyone on our various teams,
Right.
that the first time it happened, I saw nothing. It was blackness, and I woke up. And that really scared me and really shook me. Because I thought that if I was going to almost die, that I would take a ride and see what was on the other side. So for about the first time happened in 2007, so for about 6 years, I had this thought in my mind that, well, what if all the paranormal experience I am experiencing is like what Barry Taft says, it's just like telekinesis? What if there really is no life after death? And I struggled with this. I struggled with this for a very long time. So my second time close to death kind of validated it for me.
Okay, so on either one of your experiences, did you, in the physical body, lose track of any time, like as in days, weeks, hours, where you cannot recall? I mean, obviously when we sleep, we know what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I slept 5 hours last night or whatever. Did you lose track of any time on either one of your experiences?
I'm not sure. I didn't have a watch when I came back, but since this seems to be some kind of weird delay, my mom said that they operated on me for hours and hours and hours. What did she say? Like 6, 7, 8 hours. So, I could have been floating around during that time, and actually, there is some evidence to show that I did.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, yeah, it does. I'm just curious because a lot of the experiences that you have are sometimes, laying around in such a state near death, not clinically dead, for days. And I've heard stories like that. So I'm just trying to quantify in my own mind the time frame, from onset to when you were able to recall, what the heck happened here.
It felt like seconds. Well, no, it felt like minutes. I mean, it was really quick. But I don't think it was that quick. I think that a lot of the experience I blocked out or could not handle with my physical brain. So I think there's a lot there that I don't know.
And that's a good theory.
Yeah.
Okay, James, we're going to toss it to you. If you could take us back and kind of fill us in where you were at, what was going on in your life when you had your experience, and then tell us about what you experienced.
Not a problem. Like I said, it was when I was 10 years old. It was summer vacation from school. I didn't have too many friends. I was pretty much a loner. So one morning I woke up. I opened up my door, check outside, see who was outside and stuff, and I seen some workers up on top of the street that I, lived down on, and they were planting new grass or sod or, however you want to put it. So I ran into my mom and asked her, I was like, would you mind if I go up and ask them if I could help them out? It was summer, I had nothing to do, so she said, sure, but you have to go up there and ask them, of course, and, I did, and I went up to a guy who seemed to, look pretty big and stuff, so I was like, hey, do you mind me helping out? It's like, not at all. So my job was to, water some of the grass. It's about noontime or so. Can't quite recall the exact time, but it was somewhere around there. It was lunchtime. And the wall that I actually fell off of, there was this big oak tree. And that's where I was... Hello?
Yeah, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, we could hear you, James. I just think we lost Philip.
Okay.
So sorry about that.
Yeah, somebody cut out. I'm sorry. I thought that it was us.
Nope, you're good. You're sounding like you're right here with us.
Alrighty. But yeah, back to the wall. That's where we sat at. There was a big oak tree. That's where everybody gathered some shade to cool off. Again, it was summertime, pretty hot outside. So where the retaining wall is, there's only 3 little poles that's kind of up there to keep people from falling over. And the way they were sitting on top of the top bar with no hands and stuff. Being, big guys, they were able to do that. They had better balance. So as a person looking up to bigger people, I tried to do the same thing. Everybody's attention wasn't on me at the time, so I was able to sneak up on top. And I was up there momentarily, and then from that point, that's when I fell back, and that's when I experienced my out-of-body experience, near-death experience. I was able to see, all the actions that I explained earlier. As far as feelings, I know that you asked Philip about feelings and stuff like that. I can't recall having any feelings. I had no sadness, no sorrow, no nothing. I couldn't recall anything. I just seen what I seen. I was just baffled by what was going on, why I was able to see what I was seeing. Um, as far as tunnels and darkness and lightness, there wasn't any tunnels. A lot of people say, I seen the tunnel, I was going to go through the end of the tunnel, and, there you go, you die. That's not the way it was. For me, everything was as if I was just there, walking around being, me. It was a bit brighter. The atmosphere felt a lot calmer, kind of like you're at peace. Again, I had no emotions. I could hear and see everything going on.
So you did have an awareness that there were noises in this state you were in.
I was able to hear. I was able to see. Again, I was able to see every action that was going on. I was able to hear things. But towards the end, when I was actually in the hospital, laying in the hospital room, something happened to where it started just getting really dark. And that's apparently when I was coming to. I can't give you a time frame of how long it was, but to me, it seemed very quick. But it was, dark momentarily, and then, there I was looking at a doctor with a light shining in my eyes.
So now, I guess that's a common thing with both of you is, things fading out almost to the point of blacking out. Do you think that's when your spirit actually came back into your physical body?
I believe so, although I didn't witness it or was able to tell what happened. I believe so. Again, I was aware of everything. I was able to see and hear my physical being. My mom, I seen. She came to the hospital with me. She took the ambulance ride, and the doctor I seen. Again, momentarily, everything just went black, and there I was. I was feeling the pain. I was feeling emotions. I was feeling everything. So I think at that point, like you said, I think my spiritual form did, enter back into my physical being.
It's so interesting.
Now, just out of curiosity, since both of you guys are investigators, you've been out, you've done investigations, have either of you ever attempted the Gansfield experiment where you do the ping pong balls on the eyes and the headphones listening to white noise? Have you ever done that experiment?
No, I'm quite claustrophobic, and seeing Alan doing it kind of made me not want to do it.
How about you, James?
I didn't hear your question. I'm sorry. You were kind of muffled.
Oh, sorry about that. Have you ever tried the Gansfield experiment?
It's still difficult to hear you. Sorry, Josh.
Have you tried the Gansfield experiment where you actually have sensory deprivation, basically? You have ping pong balls that you wear over your eyes.
Yes, I've seen that experiment done on a TV show, but personally, no, I haven't tried that. I do kind of experiment with different things. I won't go into details about it, but that I haven't tried that.
Well, the reason why I asked on that was because we actually did do that experiment ourselves on one of our investigations, and we were actually really surprised by the fact that during that experiment, your mind actually does lose track of time. So we had somebody sit down for about 45 minutes doing that experiment, and then when we finished up and took him out of it, he felt like he was only in it for about 10 or 15 minutes. And one of the reasons that they explain this is that subconsciously our mind uses different markers to help us keep track of time through the day. That's why we always have a rough idea of, it's about 3 o'clock, or we're around 4 o'clock, even though you have no clock near you. And when you do that experiment, you're taking away those senses that your brain uses to keep track of time. And I'm wondering if that might be the same scenario. Once your body starts to shut down, is that why people feel like they lose track of time, is because those senses are shutting down as well?
Well, let me tell you something. I used to meditate an awful lot, and I would meditate in my bathtub. And there were times when I would meditate for like 2 hours, and I would think that 10 minutes would go by.
Well, so you're thinking then along the lines that even in a meditative or a deep meditative state, you are pretty much blocking everything out of your mind, which you would use as your, conscious being able to discern what time frame you were working in.
Yeah. I used to say that there's no time in spirit, and that's kind of what I went with.
All right. Well, then the next question I have for both of you, Philip. First of all, have you been on any investigations since your experience?
Nothing yet. I'm still recuperating from the surgery,
Okay.
but I plan to within the next 6 months to get into it full bore again. I'm starting to look in to see what groups Seattle has and what I can do here. I know a couple of locations that might be prime for investigation.
Okay.
But this experience has driven me to try to get out of retirement.
Okay. And James, since your experience, has this changed anything about the way you investigate?
It does. I mean, I definitely have a lot more respect for the spiritual world. I think I became a little bit more spiritual myself in regards of having that experience I had. Again, it happened when I was so young. I didn't really have too much sense of anything, being so young. But I definitely take a different approach as far as a lot of other different investigators like you see on TV. A lot of them use provocation and just a lot of different things, different techniques. I definitely go in with respect.
I do as well, as you know, Josh.
All right. One more thing is there anything, not so much as far as your point of view, but was there any side effects, any physical or mental side effects from both of your experiences? Is there something physically or just something that had changed beyond just your outlook on it?
Honestly, everything's changed. But one of the things I noticed when I got back, and this went on for about a week and a half, I think, was that I felt that the world, the physical world was not real to a point, and that what I experienced was the real world. And there was a part of me that wanted to go back, which kind of shocked me. That faded after a little bit. It was almost like being in two different realms simultaneously, I guess.
Okay. So, wow.
That just opened up a whole door
I
for it.
I don't even know where to go with that one. So it so profoundly changed you that it almost altered your ideal of reality. Then,
Yes, it completely and absolutely changed me. And I think that's the important step. When doctors and stuff say that it's just the lack of oxygen in the brain, well, I don't think an experience like that can completely and totally change your outlook on existence. And this did it to me. I mean, remember, before this, I did not know if there was life after death. Now I know, and I'm not afraid to die.
so is that kind of the same view that you're getting, James? I mean, did this
Definitely.
alter?
Yes, definitely. I mean, like I said, people that experience have a whole different outlook on life altogether afterwards. Again, there's going to be people out there calling you crazy and, nuts and stuff like that, once you open up and, actually tell them about it. But, as Philip said, it's real. It happens,
So did this seem like it was? I mean, it changed you to the point where it kind of messed with your mind as well, like your perspective on what we know as reality.
Not so much. I mean, life is life. You live it, you learn it. It's wake up, do it again thing. But as far as the spiritual world and the physical world, there's definitely two different worlds that I know of.
Yeah.
Did it take away your fear of dying?
I never had a fear of dying, but I definitely have no fear of it, period, now. I mean, I'll be happy either way, you know. I know that life is going to go on for me once this life is over. It's just what you have to accomplish while you're living now.
Yeah.
And you know, just that question itself, you know, it has a different meaning for me when somebody asks, do you have a fear of dying? Well, yes, I'm afraid it's going to be a painful, slow death. But am I afraid of being dead? No, I'm not.
Well, yeah.
You know,
you know, and maybe to clarify that, you know, having been through your near-death experiences and knowing that you weren't feeling physical pain,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Well,
maybe helps.
I mean, either way, you know, whether it's falling off a building or getting hit by a car, either way, you know, people are going to fear things. I have a fear of heights, you know, I have a fear of flying, but something you get over, you know, as far as, you know, the fear of death and, you know, the way you die, you just got to look at it, you know, once it happens, it's over, you know.
that's true.
Well, it's just a process, you know.
Yeah.
Everything is.
So, the fear then is the fear doesn't even play a factor.
Not at all, not for me. Again, it's definitely a better world than what we live in today, I could tell you that.
So, did either one of you get a glimpse at what your next life might be?
You go on.
Go ahead.
As far as me, I didn't. I mean, like I said, I just seen the actions of what took place and what was happening, you know, current time, I guess. I didn't see anything beyond that.
Okay, so how did that kind of reevaluate your points of view that there's something better for you on the other side?
Well, I figured, you know, I was dead. I mean, if I was able to see myself, obviously something happened to my physical body. And I was at peace, you know, regardless of what would have happened. I was still at peace.
Exactly.
You had that calm, peaceful feeling. There was no fear,
I was at
no
peace, 100%.
no being afraid, no remorse, no guilt, no nothing. It's just 100% peace.
Okay, so then that begs me to ask. There's the judgment. Going to judgment again. A lot of people that I've spoken with about near-death experiences said that they felt as if there was no what we here in the physical world deem as our judgment day. So
My mom's near-death experience, she actually was judged.
wow.
Mine, no, there was nothing.
All
But
right.
my mom has a very religious background, so that might have colored it somewhat. Because I think a lot of what we experience when we go through an NDE is shaped by our perceptions and our beliefs.
Oh, I'm sure.
And we've had shows about how much belief is a factor in anything.
Absolutely.
And so I completely agree. James, one question I have for you, and this is just a serious question from an investigator to an investigator. You hear people say you had to have been there or you had to have experienced it. Since you had this near-death experience and you've seen how other investigators operate and how other teams work, what is one thing that you see that you would prefer to change or see handled differently?
Well, I have, you know, like I said, I have a lot of numerous different investigators on my team personally. And as a team member and a leader, I just try to teach them, and you know, from experience, of course, and from my NDE, not to be so much afraid of it or be spooked out as much. I mean, from time to time, I was just recently on an investigation, and I actually seen a face staring back at me as I was ending an EVP session. I went down to grab a K2 meter, and as I went down to grab it, I seen what appeared to be a face looking back at me. It kind of spooked me a little bit, but again, I didn't run or scream or jump. Because I know, you know, it's not all that bad. You know, spirits, like I said, people aren't educated on it too well. They think that we're the devil or something like that. But they were once humans too. So I mean, it's like bumping into a complete stranger out on the street. You're not going to run from them. You're not going to scream or shout. You know, you just want to be polite, introduce yourself, or, you know, vice versa.
Josh, can I answer as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What I took away from it, and what will go back into my investigation, is that it gave me a lot more compassion for the spirits who are trapped. And, you know, I've always had compassion for spirits. You know, that's kind of what I do. But this put me in their shoes for how long it was. And I think that when I investigate, it'll be much more personal, if that makes any sense.
You know, it makes absolute sense. And, you know, I'm kind of glad that both of you shared that aspect of it, because I don't think a lot of people go into it with compassion. I think they just go into it for the thrill of seeing a ghost or to have that experience. It seems like it's more about what they're going to get out of it instead of what they're trying to communicate to.
Well, you know, I always think that investigating should be service, and I think it is a kind of service and a calling. The people who go into it thrill-seeking, or the people who go into it to get famous, I don't think there should be any place for them in the field. The people who are thrill-seeking, they can come around and they can be, you know, the experiences will change them. But I think there's a lot of people involved in the ghost hunting deal that shouldn't be there.
Oh, definitely.
I have to agree with you, but unfortunately there's not like a system in place to be able to control that. It's right now it's an open field. Anybody has a inkling of going out and sneaking into an empty building.
Well, I don't think there's any way you can govern, you know, paranormal investigators. You can do it anywhere from your home or a business or a cemetery. It doesn't matter.
Well, you know, and in a way I agree, but also in a way I disagree, because, you know, as far as being like a paranormal police, no, that's not possible. But if you control the locations that people go into, and you control what you allow to happen in those locations, at least that'll set guidelines, and a lot of people will start to follow those guidelines.
I agree.
But
if you're in a position to be able to control
well,
a specific
if not,
place,
you kick their butt out. but hey, Philip, I have a surprise for you. One of our listeners is somebody that you've known for a really, really long time.
Oh, who is it?
It is Amanda Fleming.
Yay!
So she is listening to you right now, and she's speaking with me on Facebook at the same time. And she just sent me a message. I want to relay both to you, to both of you, and kind of get your feedback on what she said. Now, she's also had a near-death experience. I want to start off with pointing that out. She said that it brought her closer to the other side. Her senses intensified. Then she wanted to know, have your experiences had any increase of paranormal activity around you?
You mean sensitivity?
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah, my natural talents, after that, it's like blockages went away, and I've become probably 1,000,000 times more spiritual.
How about
when
you,
I was
James?
in the hospital, what was interesting is that I was picking up on spirits after that experience, which was kind of terrifying, actually, because hospital ghosts are not easy to talk to.
No, I would imagine not. They're probably still in shock.
Yeah.
What about you, James? How did or did it increase your paranormal experience as a result?
Definitely. I mean, we use what they call real-time audio recorders. You could actually listen in real time as well as record. A lot of my investigators I have one as myself. I don't use it. I don't need it. My sense of hearing and sight, mind you, when I was younger, was pretty bad. And ever since that experience, my senses of everything just heightened up a lot. It definitely helps out in the field, I could tell you that.
Okay. Is there, while you're right on that, James, is there, did your experience affect you so profoundly that now you're going to implement different ways of investigating? How has it personally changed how you will conduct yourself on an investigation?
Well, first and foremost, I mean, as a team, we go in with, respect and professionalism. Whether it be a historic location or a private client. As far as me personally, I've always had respect, much more now so. And, I just tend to keep it that way, and I try to keep all my members, on the same path and page as me, to go in with respect and, respect, what was once a living being,
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Philip? How has that changed you in your style or technique as far as how you will conduct an investigation?
Well, as I was saying, I think I'm going to be far more gentle. I think, I've always been, like I said, very compassionate towards spirits and seeing their plight when I was on investigations, because I can feel them, and I think because of my experience and because I was walking in their shoes and floating around and liking Facebook stuff when I was under, I think that I'm going to be far more compassionate towards the spirits that I do come in contact with.
Mm-hmm.
Though it also makes me far more courageous as well. I mean, I'm starting to look into demonology, which is very odd for me.
So you think that maybe broadened your view of different, areas in which you could tap into?
Absolutely, yes.
How about you, James?
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, to an aspect, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't want to go out there and do what Philip said. Be a demonologist or anything. Some things are made for some others, but as far as me, I'm just gonna stick to what we do, and on a personal level, again, just stay to what I do and be respectful of what we do.
And see, and that's kind of a common thread between you two as well, is that respect factor. I mean, we all go into it, well, I would say the majority of us go into it with a great deal of respect, but it seems like, the NDEs kind of make you almost insistent on being respectful. That's a really neat thing that you guys both drew from your experiences, that common thread of being so respectful. I think it's awesome.
Absolutely.
Sorry about that. I made her lose train of thought because I flicked some ice at her. I tend to do that. So now I know, Philip, you're looking to start getting active in the paranormal field again here in about the next 6 months.
Yep, that's the plan.
James, about your team, do you guys hold public events?
We do. Actually, we have what we're working on for October. I believe the date is October 16th. The city of Beacon, New York, access the board members and stuff, access to host a ghost walk. So we'll be doing that. And I got a few other special things coming up that I just can't quite announce just yet. But I also just got done wrapping up a documentary called Through the Eyes of PPI, which, I got a bunch of, the members together and interviewed them and whatnot, got into, real in depth with, their personal experiences in about the paranormal, which I, put up on our like page on Facebook for sale, $15 per copy, if anybody's interested in that.
Yeah, actually, definitely keep us informed with that, because I think we could help out quite a bit with that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, now, once again, going back into the community, your paranormal community, both of yours actually, we develop our opinion on the paranormal community compared to the area that we live in.
Yeah.
Now, different
Absolutely.
states and different areas, their communities handle things differently from one state to the next.
Yeah, totally.
And so I'd like to learn more about both of your communities, Philip, as far as who have you talked to so far and what you do know, and then James, as far as the other teams that you've met and that you possibly work with. And I just want to know more about how well your community works together.
Okay, honestly, I don't know too much. I've joined a meetup group on meetup.com, and I'm starting to talk to some people. But one thing I've noticed that is way different than Utah, and which is kind of shocking, is that Utah is a lot more open to this stuff than Washington is. And I would imagine it's much easier to find a location in Utah where you only have to pay like $200 to investigate anywhere in order.
You still there? Philip? Uh-oh, I'm wondering if we lost Philip again. Yep.
Yep.
We just, James, we'll throw that over to you. Could we learn a little bit more about your community?
Yeah, as far as, us as a team and other teams, I actually work closely with another team called Indie Paranormal. They're located in Hyde Park, New York, not too far from our, hometown. As far as the paranormal community, it's very open. We're pretty much, all family. We did a parade not too long ago with a bunch of paranormal, groups and enthusiasts, and we got all together and, had a good time. As far as locations to investigate, there's a million of them, and they're all open to it. It depends, where you go and who you ask, but as far as that goes, it doesn't hurt to ask. I mean, the only thing you get is a no. But
So you guys are actually able then to join other people's on other groups' investigations, go out with them, and
oh yeah, we do it all the time. Like I said with Indie Pair, either we'll book an investigation and we'll invite them along, or vice versa to book one and we'll tag along with them. But
Awesome.
we became pretty much family members. So
And I think it needs to be like that more.
everywhere.
I mean, like right here in Utah, what Philip said is the exact opposite of what most people would think about Utah. Usually when I talk to somebody from out of state off the air, some of the questions I get are you Mormon? And they also like to ask me, how many wives do I have? We have this stigma of a specific way
Exactly.
people think that Utah operates, and it's really not that way at all.
Yeah,
And,
we're actually closet paranormal investigators.
and the paranormal community here is huge. We have a lot of teams all over the board. But what I've learned and what I've seen is that these teams kind of form their little cliques, and they'll work with one or two other teams, but they flat out ignore the rest of the groups and don't want to have anything to do with them. And that's part of the reason why I brought Tip Online to life, is because I think that we need to break that bad habit. And even if you don't agree specifically with the way a team operates, the fact that if they're actually out there trying to learn, trying to help, trying to improve, and trying to evolve, you got to still respect them for being out there working on it instead of just turning your nose up because their style is different than yours.
Yeah, exactly.
definitely, I mean, we hold public events, and we had a couple different people come that were from different teams, trying to learn new techniques, and I'm all for it. I'm all about teaching them, all for para unity. If I have some knowledge that someone else doesn't have, I'm more than willing to share it, and I hope in turn they are too. But there's no need to be selfish or disrespectful in this community. It is all about research and finding answers to the whys and hows. So to be, like you said, blunt about things and mean and stuff like that, it's just uncalled for and unnecessary. So in turn, that's why I got together with another group, just to show that we're not all about competition or challenges or anything like that. It's there's no sense of it, and there's only one reason why everybody's in this field or another. Some people think that they're going to become a millionaire, but that's not happening.
Yeah.
The other is to, do research and find more answers about it.
Yeah, it's not about becoming a TV celebrity or, the next top investigators. It's like you said, it's learning, growing, sharing, and evolving. So you're able to help people that are in situations that they really need some help from somebody who knows how to step in and recognize what's actually happening.
Exactly.
Now,
Are we talking Paranormal Unity?
Yeah, I was just talking to him about his community. Now that you're back, I'd like to have you continue on. You were talking about comparing Utah to Seattle.
Yeah, absolutely. Utah, there are so many haunted locations, and a lot of them are very easy to get to, and a lot of them have a lot of activity. Seattle, it seems it's more difficult to find locations and to get into them. There's a few that I know of, but it's not like Utah, which seems to be overflowing with ghosts.
Yeah, it seems that way, but I got to be honest with you. I think a lot of the ghosts that you hear reports about are all in people's heads.
It could be.
The reason why I say that is because I've been to most of the locations you refer to. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people I have the utmost respect for that have ongoing experiences almost everywhere they go. So, I mean, I'm not saying that it's all just a bunch of hooey, but I don't know if it's my personality. I don't know if it's my approach or my mindset, but I don't have this overwhelming sense of activity all over the place. And, we have an ongoing joke that I'm a paranormal deterrent, but to be honest with you, I think it's my mindset. I think it's the way I look at things.
Well,
and my approach
You're
just
very
kind of
analytical.
Right.
Well, and the thing, too, is you're not necessarily going to get activity every time you go out. You may have to go to that location several times, before you're actually able to get any kind of evidence whatsoever.
Well, I'm talking about when I'm standing right beside two people, and they're like, oh, my God, and I'm sitting there like, what? I don't see nothing. Show yourself. But, you're right. I am a very analytical person. I do look at things and try to really figure them out without jumping to conclusions. And so, I mean, that in one sense, that is an inhibitor. That inhibits me from possibly seeing something that's paranormal and recognizing it as that. But I feel you have to go through a series of questions before you can finally say, okay, I have no other reason for this. This must be a paranormal experience.
Well, you know how I look at things, that I like to have actual evidence before I say, what I am feeling is paranormal and just not myself, and I like to have other people there to help validate it.
Absolutely. I remember that quite well from our investigations in the past.
Yep.
So, and James, what do you think about what I was saying as far as, that I really have to analyze things pretty deep before I finally will accept that it may have been some kind of a paranormal experience?
Well, as going into an investigation, we've always go into it as a scientific base. We know that the paranormal exists. We know that, spirits exist. The thing is we don't always jump to conclusions on it was paranormal. We always try to find logical explanations, sort of debunk things, whether it be voices or knocking or lights or sounds, anything, that we hear that we may not see or hear that happen, physically. We always try finding answers to it. We'll look around at the location that we're at. We'll see or try to pinpoint where it was coming from. Take example for, cars passing by a building, the headlights reflecting into the windows. One might catch the light out of the corner of their eye and think that it's some sort of light anomaly. When another investigator sitting right next to him saying, I just heard and seen a car go by. So again, we always look for logical explanations before concluding or jumping to conclusions on it being paranormal.
Well, I think any good investigator, it should be putting debunking, in the forefront.
Besides, debunking is fun.
Well, it is. It actually is.
Well, it's like what I say about skeptics. You usually have open-minded skeptics and closed-minded skeptics. I think the same rule can apply for people who set out to debunk things, because I think there's people who go out there and they will apply logic within reason to a situation to find an answer. But then there's other people who will come up with the most insane concept of how something can be explained away by things that would happen, would be 1 in a million shot.
Yeah, it's a weather balloon.
Yeah, the weather balloon. Yeah. So
well, I can tell you, I turned a skeptic into a believer at a location that I investigated. The guy was the owner of a bed and breakfast, and it was his daughter that was experiencing activity. And she called me in, and I was like, sure, we'll be available such and such date. And, we conducted the investigation. And after that night, we gather all the evidence, everything, go over. It takes, quite some time. That's the part where the work really begins. The investigation is the fun part, so to speak. But after analyzing everything, we did find, evidence of paranormal activity going on. And when I called up the client to present it to them, some of the stuff that I showed to them, I asked that they never tell me personal things to see if we could pick up on that. Being that his family members passed it down to him, we were able to come up with some names and things that related to him directly that we had no clue or no knowledge of. So, him being a skeptic kind of, turned him down the other road.
Wow.
Okay. Back to Amanda. Philip,
Yes.
James. She said that sorry, she guessed she should have been more clear. I think it was just the way I relayed the information, but she meant like seeing and hearing things. Do you guys feel like you see and hear more now since you've had your near-death experience as to before?
Yes. Yeah, like I said, I'm much more open to this now.
And James, you were so young.
Yeah, as far as me, like I said, I was young when it happened to me, as far as my experience, but I would assume and definitely believe personally that I definitely can, sense, see, and hear things a lot better prior to the experience.
It gave you a better connection.
Definitely.
Okay.
Well, I would imagine since your experiences has probably mirrored other spirits' experiences, and so they're actually able to connect with you on a level that maybe they can't, say for instance Josh.
Yeah, they pretty much have to smack me in the face and say, "Wake up!"
But yeah, I would imagine because you know what they went through in that death state that you're able to relate to things perhaps someone that didn't have that experience.
Right. Now Amanda had another question. She said that some people believe this is a message to make a change. Do you feel like this is the same in your case, that this happened to you because there had to be some change in your life?
Yes. For the past 3 years, I've been in a very dark place because of my divorce and a lot of other things that have happened. This was the end of that cycle, and it has caused me to reevaluate pretty much everything, and what I want to do with my life, and who I am, and just a lot of the big questions. I'm trying to change my life as much as I can because I feel that I have to.
Okay. And James, she also wanted to know, and especially for someone so young at the time, do you think that there was a reason for this to happen to you, to change your path?
Well, personally, I believe there's a reason for everything that happens to us as all individuals. For whatever reason it happened, I can't answer, but I do believe that it happened for a reason.
All right. Well, I mean, that's...
Well, had you ever contemplated before that time, or did you express an interest in becoming a paranormal investigator? Maybe that was the avenue it was trying to direct you to.
as far as that goes, I mean, I've always had a curiosity about the afterlife and spirits and demons and stuff like that. As a kid growing up, I would always watch scary movies and ghost movies and stuff like that. So my mind, as far as that goes, it's always been there. It's always been curious of the afterlife.
Okay.
All right. Now, kind of flipping this around a little bit. You mentioned the scary movies and things like that. This is one of Kevin's questions that he asks on his show. But was there a paranormal movie or TV show or a speaker that influenced you in any specific way?
Easily. The Millennium Master himself, Art Bell.
Wow. And why?
As for me, there wasn't any influence as far as shows or anything like that. It was just pretty much self-proclaimed getting into it. Again, it's always been an interest of mine since I was a kid, and furthermore, after that experience I had. So, as far as being influenced or having an influenced person in the paranormal, I can't say I had.
Okay, so there's really nobody that you saw that was able to relay the experiences or anything like that?
Not at all. I mean, now with all these TV shows, there's a lot of different TV shows of. And me personally, I don't, knock them or anything, but what I tell people is what they see on TV isn't what reality is. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that you don't see on TV. Being on TV myself, my ghost story and stuff like that, a lot of it's made for ratings. And what we do in reality, as far as helping clients and other people in this field, it's far different from, what's experienced on TV.
Let's face it, ghost hunting is boring, and if they put out what we actually do, no one would watch it.
Yeah. I always tell everybody, I keep it as simple as possible and I explain shows and movies to people. It's right there in the name. It's for entertainment.
Exactly.
So
that's kind of where I've come to. I used to be really upset when the TV shows would seem to fake stuff. But then I realized that this is not exactly what they do and that this is just a show.
Yeah, ratings.
And
ratings.
As long as people view it as an entertainment outlet, then I don't think it's that bad. But if they watch it and they think that this is exactly how you have to operate and these are the guideline perimeters that you have to follow, and you'll have these experiences every time because they did in a 1 hour show. Look at all the things they experienced.
Yeah, and I think their perception of reality is a little bit tainted. Yeah, it's like I alluded to earlier, is sometimes it takes you returning to a location 5 or 6 times to even yield you one good piece of evidence as far as that goes, and not to mention the hours and hours and hours of reviewing everything.
Yeah.
I've always been really lucky. I think, like Amanda, I'm pretty much ghost bait. So it used to be that if I believed that there would be activity, there would be no activity. If I believed there was going to be no activity, then I'd usually catch something. But I was always really lucky that I would get a lot of EVPs at a lot of the locations that I went.
And I could vouch for that. Same with Amanda. It didn't matter where Amanda went. And a lot of times she'd end up with the same voice from multiple locations. And I remember we talked about that a few times, and we started looking into possibilities that something was following her.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that just begs me to ask the question. On your near-death experiences, can you tell me, was there a spirit that came to escort you?
No. They were there. But they were in the periphery. They were, I didn't see them, but I could feel them. I might have gotten a glimpse of them because I have a memory of something. But during the experience, I didn't see them. But they were there.
And James, what about you?
As far as me, I don't recall any. All I recall is, as if I was looking at somebody else, know, I mean, I was seeing myself, but if it was somebody else, I mean, that's all I seen. Whoever was within the scene, that's all I seen. No other spirits or energy or anything. Again, I had no sense of feelings or emotions or anything like that.
Okay, well, I wonder if that is what the difference between people who don't come out of their near-death state and people like you that do. Maybe the ones that decide to stay there permanently are the ones that are, escorted by another spirit.
Honestly, I don't think that I remember the spirits that escorted me, so it's possible that that I was escorted, that I was taken to places, but I don't remember it.
Right. Yeah, that could have easily have been, those memories could easily have been taken away as well. But
Exactly.
That's all theories. There's
Yep.
no way to prove anything like that.
No way at all.
So do either one of you feel like maybe some information that you saw or heard while you were there was taken away from you?
I think it's not so much taken away from me. I think that we as humans are not supposed to comprehend this stuff, so we see very little of it. We see what we can understand, and that's it. And I think I talked to a medium. I have a friend who's a medium, and she looked into me and said that I was taken to other places, but I don't remember that.
Well,
I do remember, I remember other things happening, like floating outside of the hospital the next day and riding in an ambulance and things like that. But I don't remember going to my friend's house because I have friends who believe that they felt me or saw me. I don't remember any of that, but according to them, it happened.
and I'm kind of going to go off into the deep end here for a little bit. So if I kind of lose it, just stop me and say stop talking. Two things come to mind when you're talking about that. The first one is like when somebody is asleep and they're dreaming, they wake up, they could remember their dream, but as the morning progresses, those memories of that dream fade.
Yes.
And the second thing is understanding the way the human mind works is our mind thinks in symbols, not words, even though a lot of people don't realize that. Our mind is pulling memories and pulling thoughts and everything else using symbology, certain shapes and forms and items and things that bring certain emotions or thoughts.
Which is why everything was made up of geometric shapes.
Right. And so I wonder if that might have something to do with it. You're both able to remember specific details, like looking at yourself, seeing yourself almost through somebody else's eyes, for lack of a better way of explaining it. But there's a lot of other things that are kind of vague or, you're not 100% sure of. Do you guys think that's possible?
I think it's very possible. I do. Yeah, it's just like with hearing. It's not words that we actually hear. It's vibrations. So I definitely have to agree with that.
All right. Well.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think that what I saw was made of symbols, many different symbols. Some personal symbols, some esoteric symbols. It seemed the whole makeup over there was made of symbols.
Okay, and so to take that a notch further, now when the body feels like it's being threatened, its natural instinct to survive kicks in. Now, I don't know how the human brain reacts when it feels like it's in danger of ceasing to function, but do you think the human brain can actually combine the subconscious with the subconscious? Let me rephrase that. The subconscious with the conscious state, so you're actually looking at everything from both sides at the exact same time?
I think there's a possibility of that happening. Yeah, it's very possible, and that's why I said, in the beginning that, a lot of scientists and doctors say that, it has a lot to do with the brain waves and electrical impulses Perhaps it could have been that occurred during a near-death experience. I'm open-minded to everything and all aspects of it, but as far as what I went through and experienced, I know what it was pretty much.
Yeah, well, I've heard the expression that, everything that expires usually works the best it's ever going to work right prior to its expiration. Like a car or something of that nature. So having the brain do something like its, last big hoopla before it does the send-off seems to be a pretty good plausible theory on that.
And just thinking of the possibility of what somebody would experience if their conscious and subconscious both were active at the exact same time. And I don't mean by right now we're awake, we're conscious, but subconsciously we're breathing, subconsciously other things are happening. But I mean the full scale.
Oh, yeah. And that could be, too, why we can't recall a lot of it, too. It's almost like our brains in the conscious mind can't even wrap our thoughts around that.
Right, but in
process.
the subconscious, we could imagine ourselves flying.
Sure.
We could go through walls. We can live the experiences that consciously we inhibit ourselves from believing is even possible.
Sure.
But
here's a question: how come we remember it at all, since we don't have a brain in this state?
Well, what did your brain cease to function, or was it your heart, your lungs, and other parts of your body?
Well, I was bleeding out, but when you when you go over there, you don't have a physical body, so that means you do not have a physical brain.
That's a very good point.
But I think your soul retains all of the lessons that you learned here. Your thought process, your personality, everything is retained in your soul. That's what makes your soul
that's
up.
Probably right, and I think it's probably multiple personalities over multiple dimensions.
Oh, certainly.
And I know medically speaking that your memories are stored in certain parts of your brain, and that is the way the signals are shot back and forth, and it stores it, and it hits back in those areas. And you're saying, well, you're not even in your body, you're experiencing these things, and all of a sudden you pop back in. Those sections of your brain that are designed to store these memories never had that impulse hit it, but yet the memories still exist. And so I think that completely separates the spiritual, the soul aspect from just the human body a little bit more, and says, you know what, the soul doesn't need the human body, but the human body needs the soul.
And I couldn't have said that any better. That's kind of what I was trying to allude to. However, I didn't do it quite as eloquently.
Yeah, I just kind of faked it. So what do you guys think about that? You think that's completely right?
To an aspect, I'd say. I mean, a majority of it, I have to agree, definitely.
One of the things I always wondered about the spiritual world, or after you pass, is everybody says that you keep the same personality as when you're alive, but I have a hard time with that, and here's the reason why. Being alive, we are bound to have to do certain things. We have to eat, we have to sleep, we have to use the bathroom, we have to drink fluids. We have to do all these specific things to keep our bodies functioning, but when you no longer have a body to worry about, you no longer have those concerns. And I personally think that would change your personality. That would change some of the way that you are, because you no longer have those limitations anymore.
Well, if you believe in, reincarnation, that's only one step in the process of being reincarnated back into another world, where you are then again able to start forming, your personality all over again as a new person. So if it ties in with kind of the reincarnation theory.
What do you guys think about reincarnation?
I mean, I'm not sure if you can exactly choose on what you want to be reincarnated as. I'm sure that it does exist as far as reincarnation, but to choose what you can be or what you can't be, I don't believe that that would be an option or a possibility.
Okay.
I tend to agree with him. I do think that that's a possibility, but I don't think that's the ultimate answer. One of the questions I put out on my page not too long ago is another one of those far out there thoughts, and I'm pretty popular for those, but I make people think, and it makes me think myself. And here's the question that I asked. I asked, what if some of the spirits that you communicate with never had been born yet? They were pre-born instead of post-born. And in fact, they were on their way into actually experiencing a life, but they haven't quite made it there yet.
It's definitely a possibility. I mean, you hear of past lives and, even your future life, That's like, sort of like deja vu, It's like you've seen that before, you've been there before. And how would that be possible if you never had,
I have a belief.
It's very possible.
I have a belief that deja vu is actually we dream what happens to us beforehand, and so it's like a precognitive dream. That's my theory.
Well, I think my own personal view on it is I believe that it can be either way. You've either dreamt of it, precognitive, or you've actually lived it.
That's probably what it is.
And for me, I remember my deja vus from time to time. In fact, I actually self-induced one once. It was an experiment where I went to sleep focusing on something, dreamt about what I was focusing on before I fell asleep, and then 2 or 3 days later it happened.
Interesting.
With that being said, I don't think you could have experienced that exact same thing before, because the situation you're dreaming of is time specific. I remember it was in high school, and I was running the 1.5 in track class, and I remembered running, staring at the gravel while I was going, and a kid passed me on the right, tripped and fell, and hurt his leg. And, so I don't think I would have experienced that in a previous life, but it may not have been, going back to what I said earlier, it may not have been that exact thing I was recalling, just the emotions and, once again, the symbols that were running through my head gave me those same, thought process, for lack of a better word.
Well, and I could buy into it just being precognitive dream. However, I've had experiences in my own life where I've actually gone somewhere I had never been before, and I could literally draw you a diagram of what the inside of the building looked like. I could tell you all about the colors, and yet I've never been there.
It's pretty similar to an experience I had. It's like, I can't recall the place I went, but it was up on a mountain, on a cliff. I've never been there before, but once I got to that destination, it seemed like I have been. I'd never, like I said, never been there before. This was the first time, but once I arrived at that destination, it felt as if I was.
You knew exactly where to go, and you knew exactly what
I
was
knew
around
everything, where the layout was, what it looked like, even signs that were hanging on the trees, arrows pointing to certain directions. I seen it all, But yet, I have never been to that location.
So, would you classify that as precognitive? Or would
it deja vu, or whatever you want to call
deja
it.
vu is all encumbersome.
It's weird,
I think we're safe in calling it deja vu.
Well, and, deja vu, these memories that we absorb, these things that we experience, they may not have been bound to our specific soul or our specific body. It may have been an imprint left or residual energy from something else that made its way to you to have that experience ahead of time. You know what I mean?
Especially if you're open to it.
It's all theories. I mean, this is all theories.
Well, see, and that's the whole thing. You nailed it right there, Philip, is you've got to be open-minded.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's the reason why a lot of open-minded people have so many, tremendous experiences is because we are so open-minded. I think if I walked through, life with blinders on, my experience in life would be very narrow.
Hey, we got another comment from Amanda here, and I know Philip's loving this right now, knowing that Amanda's listening. Apparently, one of my earlier comments she had a response to. She said that the Buddhists believe that you have a core self and an ego self, and letting go of this ego self is that what leads you to enlightenment. Does that sound right to you guys? You think the Buddhists are onto it?
I don't know. I have a few problems with Buddhism, the letting go of passion and all of that, because I think passion is what makes us human. But I do believe letting go of that side of you that is your ego can get you to another point of consciousness, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
How about you, James?
Yeah, I have to agree with Philip. I mean, although, religions are religion. You got Catholics, you got Buddhists, you got all different religions. They all have their own different beliefs. So, depending on what your mindset is, if you're not open to all aspects of everything, then, you just take from there.
Well, I kind of like the idea of, what would the world be like if we didn't have, egos, or you didn't have, I need to be better than the next guy. I need to have more money. I need more material possessions. I'm bigger than that guy. I'm stronger than that guy. If all that was just like wiped clean and everybody just kind of looked at everybody as brothers and sisters of equal grounds.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, that would be.
In one aspect,
I don't think life would exist as we know it today. Not in a frame like that.
Well, in one aspect, I think it would be boring. Because it creates challenge, it creates drive, it creates you to improve on yourself, to have that competition and that growth. But at the same time, it's probably what caused a lot of our wars. It's what caused a lot of our, riots. It's what caused a lot of our ongoing issues that we're dealing with today.
Sure.
If the Earth is a training ground for whatever comes after, is it possible that part of our mission on this planet is to get over those things but not lose them completely? Because like you said, our egos, they drive us. They make us do things and to compete and to become better at, we to try to strive to be better than we are.
Yeah.
If everything was peaceful, we would have no need to do that.
Right, we'd be content with just the simple
status quo. Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of, our wild animals, they're even competitive. I mean, you got to have the alpha dog. You have to have, the top of the chain.
Well, it's called a sense of order. Order is different than what you're referring to. Order is not.
So two dogs that are competing to be the alpha dog, you don't think one of them
has a bigger ego?
Yeah.
I think that's more of a drive than it is.
You think so?
Instinctual drive, yeah.
I'm bigger, I'm better, so I should be in charge.
Fight or flight. Well, not necessarily in charge.
Well, that's
what if
the alpha...
our ego is part of an instinctual drive?
What's that?
I said, what if our ego is part of an instinctual drive?
That's kind of what I was getting to.
I could probably buy that under certain circumstances.
But, it's who's biggest, who's baddest, and who's going to be able to defend the pack the best, ultimately.
Exactly.
So,
who has the dominant gene.
That's how families are, constructed. You got, usually it's the father who's the protector, the defender. He wants to protect his family by any means necessary.
Yes.
And then you have the female of the pack that's about nurturing, cherishing, things like that. And I know it's not always the case. Sometimes it's the females that are the defenders and the males that, are the nurturing ones. But it's the fact that there's that structure in place. But if men and women looked at each other like we're equals, we're going to do everything equally across the board, I think it would have its pros and its cons.
Yeah, it kind of does dilute the... Dilutes and pollutes.
Okay.
The whole theory.
I'm going to switch topics because that's kind of giving me a headache. I want to ask you guys, we were on this investigation at the Rio Grande station.
Oh, wow.
I think it was last weekend.
Yep.
And we had a psychic / intuitive, I'm not sure what title she likes to run by, but...
Psychic medium.
With us, and she did a session. See, I can't even talk anymore. How sad is that? Where she did a channeling session where she allowed one of the spirits to communicate through her body for us.
Dangerous.
And she explained a lot of the different factors about how her guardian will protect her, and they'll only let good ones in and things like that. But when we were talking to this individual, we were asking specific questions. When were you born? What was your parents' names? When did you pass away? One of the questions that we asked is, how did you pass judgment? And the response came back quick with no hesitation, and it was the most simplest and basic of answers. And the answer was, I just didn't go. Do you think...
Well, you know that has been my theory forever, is that a lot of the spirits, especially in Utah, are afraid of judgment. So they don't cross over.
And just to be that basic and that simple without having to overcomplicate it is, I just didn't go. I like it here.
Yep.
And do you think that happens more often than not?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think it probably happens to older spirits that had a very set religious base than newer spirits who probably are not afraid of judgment and will cross over.
Well, the channeling session that she did, simply stated, I wasn't afraid. I just chose not to go. So do you think we're given that opportunity? I mean, having been through what you've been through, do you think we have free choice at what, if we want to go to judgment or we choose to stay here?
I think we do have free choice. My mom's near-death experience kind of touched into that, where you are able to forgive while on the other side and not have to face full judgment. But I think if we stay here, then that is also a form of judgment, because it cannot be fun just floating around for whatever in this fog or confusion. We need to cross over.
Well, and you just made the comment. It can't be fun to just hang out here and do everything. But you guys did mention that when you had your experience, you didn't have any emotions, or you just felt like everything was at peace.
Yes.
What if they are just at peace with where they're at and what they're doing?
Well, I think a lot of
I'm not
spirits,
trapped like what a lot of people believe.
Well, I think a lot of spirits, I think it depends on how you cross over and the experiences that you had before that. I think that if you're murdered and in a lot of pain, it can cause you to become very confused and wander. My experience was more like, oh wow, let's see what's out there.
And how about you, James?
I think once you pass on, I think you pass on as you were on Earth. If you were a miserable old geezer, I think that's how you're going to be in the afterlife. It depends. Perhaps there is judgment. I can't tell you that there is, because apparently I didn't, get past judgment on. So
you weren't judged.
Believe, as personal opinions, that you pass on as you are, when you're living. again, if you're nice or whatever the case may be, that's how it's going to be, at the end.
Right, and with that being said, I mean, one of my biggest questions has always been, are you the one who judges yourself? Are you your own judge?
I believe so. I mean, you make your own judgments in life. You judge to do what you want to do and how you do it. So I think at the end you have the final say on what happens.
Right.
Can I tell you what my mom experienced?
Absolutely.
Okay, so my mom, this was in 1999. She went through anaphylactic shock, either died or nearly died at the doctor's office. And she was in a place where there were all these lines, and she started seeing these, what she said were souls on these like strings, and that they would be vibrated off to eternity. And when it came to be her time to be swept off to this, she heard a voice that kept saying that you have unforgiveness in your heart. And my mom started praying, because my mom is a very religious person, and this experience is filtered by her religion. That she, she basically said, "I forgive everybody," and then it passed her by. And then my mom was taken to a military hospital where she saw a bunch of soldiers recovering. And this was 2 years before 9/11. So it was quite an amazing experience. I'd love to get my mom on to talk about it sometime, if I can. But she faced judgment. But her belief system, that's part of her belief system.
Well, right, and I mean, it's just like when they say you're your own worst critic.
Yeah.
That probably carries over as well. I kind of want to, just for anybody who's tuned in previously to the start of us, we'll start with Philip and then you, James. How can people reach you and learn more about you and maybe converse a little bit more on this if you're open to it?
Well, I'm on Facebook, and that's where you can find me the most. Just look up Philip Eventide, Eventide, or you can email me at twiligsol5@gmail.com.
I'm sure glad I'm recording this because I don't have a pen. So
what's the SOL stand for?
It's soul.
Oh, there you go.
It can either be the soul or it can be the moon.
Yeah. And how about you, James?
Or they could check us out on our like page. It's Poughkeepsie, Poughkeepsie, Paranormal Investigators. That's our like page. I'm the account holder for that, so if you need to get a hold of me that way, you do it that way. And I have a lot of links on that page leading to our website and all that stuff. So just follow the links. Our email, our website, and all that stuff is right there on our like page.
All right, wonderful. And I just kind of want to get a little bit of feedback from you guys. We've been doing this for a few months now, and I just kind of want to find out how you guys felt about being on the show, and or is there areas that we could improve for you, or do you think we handled this pretty good for you?
I'll start. I really enjoyed today. I thought I did much better than last time, and it was just like being on Darkness Radio or something. It was very professional, and the questions were very insightful, and I really enjoyed myself.
Thank you, Philip.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And I hope to be back, and we can talk spirits and stuff.
I have to agree with Philip. I mean, I've been on numerous radio shows as well, and as far as the questions and all that, it's all fair game, man. Once you get into this field and you go on to shows like this, it's either positive criticism or like you said, own opinions or theories.
Right.
Yeah.
learning from other people, especially on radios and, the listeners and all that good stuff, it's definitely always a great experience, and it's what brings the paranormal, teams together and, join a unity that this field desperately needs.
Yes, definitely.
I completely agree with you, and I got to tell you guys, you both have been wonderful guests. I'm glad we didn't offend anybody in any way, but it's all about learning, it's about growing, it's about evolving, and it's about working together. A lot of times for me, nobody's right and nobody's wrong. There's just difference of opinions.
Absolutely.
And I've ran my team like that for 9 years. I'm running my station like that for right now. And I think I've learned a whole lot more by following those guidelines than I have in any other aspect of my life. So.
Yeah. Well, we respectfully, reserve the right to respectfully disagree, maybe on a personal level. But, we can learn something from each other. And that's the whole parameter of our deal is learning from each other and sharing stories and experiences, techniques, because everybody needs to be validated by being heard.
And with that being said, we welcome you guys back anytime you want to. Now, we do share evidence review. We could actually review or analyze evidence as well. If you shot us an hour-long EVP session, we could actually sit there and play it on the air. And
we do like those in the raw form as well.
Get interaction from people in the chat, what other people are hearing as well. And I don't mean just the little clips. I mean dropping a whole 1 hour file and have us just going through it and stopping at sections, discussing it, moving on. We like to talk about new techniques and new approaches you guys do on your investigations, what works, what doesn't, equipment. Also, research that you guys do on your particular areas, because the minerals in the ground around you are different. The weather, the humidity, the temperature is always different where everybody else is at. And I think that plays
a lot of moisture here in Seattle.
Right, and I think things like that play a huge role in what paranormal activity takes place and where it takes place at. And I don't think a lot of people have really tuned into that as much as I think they could, and learn that in high humidity areas you might tend to experience more of this aspect of the paranormal, not 100%, but just more of it. Maybe in dry heat you tend to experience more of this type of activity, and maybe that could even help us fine-tune a little bit more to understand what makes things easier for the spirits, what makes things more difficult for the spirits, And
that's just like the, not to interrupt you, but, the equipment that most paranormal investigators use is the EM pump.
Right.
It gives that charge, and, going on to the atmospheric, pressure and thunderstorms, lightning storms, when that occurs, I think it does supply energy and to the spirits to communicate and manifest. So I definitely know that the atmosphere and the locations definitely play a factor.
And I completely agree. And I wonder why more teams don't use humidifiers.
Yep.
We always did. We used EMF pumps to try to see if activity was helped by that or was hindered by that.
Yeah. Well, one of my biggest theories is when you're dealing with more humidity, it's easier for the spirits to travel through the water than it is just through the air itself. But it's it's just a theory.
This, Josh, have you? How often have you experimented with that?
Not as detailed as I should, to be honest with you, but I have heard a lot of reports about how they tend to stick close to the water, how they can travel downstream or upstream to different locations, but I think I need to really kind of tune into that a little bit more, do some research, and see if maybe that can affect some of that
is something Josh and I on a personal level try to do is think outside the box and try to do a few different experiments on every investigation. just to see if it alters, the evidence that we're able to get, or enhances it or drives it away.
But one of the things we also have to keep in mind too is you need to do the same experience or the same experiment at multiple locations, because just because it doesn't work at one place doesn't mean it won't be successful at another.
Yep, very true. See if it alters, the evidence that we're able to get.
Somebody just turned on their computer, I think. So, all right. Well, hey, I want to thank you both. For the same experiment. Okay, I'm hearing that loop again. I don't know if it's me or not, but I'm going to stop mine. I want to thank you both again for coming on the show with us tonight. Looks like we possibly lost Philip again, but the fact that you guys are willing to share your experiences with us, and it is a very personal thing that you guys went through. It is something that you didn't have anybody there with you. It's something you had to go through by yourself, alone, but yet you still experienced that level of peace and calmness. I guarantee that would have changed my life completely if I ever experienced that. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you very, very much for sharing.
It's my pleasure, being on the show and talking about it.
And once again, the offer's always open. If you ever want to come back on the show, talk about your team, maybe bring some of your team on, and we could just focus on your area, what your team has going on, and what kind of things you guys are doing. Just let us know.
Yeah, just keep in touch with me, James.
Definitely.
And let's get you back on, and we can hear a little bit more about, the role of each of your members in your group. Maybe if you'd like to share some evidence with us, that'd be cool too.
Oh, we definitely have a lot of that.
Well, that's good. That's a good thing.
We welcome it. So, and it looks like Philip just hopped back in. Philip, I want to say the same thing to you. I do appreciate you coming on the show, sharing such an intimate detail of your experiences and what you went through. And same offer goes to you. If you ever want to come back on the show, either to talk about this in particular, if you want to talk about theories, or if you want to even talk about a new team that you're working with, all you have to do is just drop us a message and we'll get you on the calendar, okay?
Anytime, Josh. I really enjoy this.
All right.
Well, thank you again for coming and sharing with us tonight, both of you guys.
Yeah. And you guys have a good night, because I'm sure it's getting pretty late out there.
Yeah, it's 11 o'clock.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So get some sleep, and we'll talk with you guys later, okay?
Thank you so much.
That was great. Thank you for having me.
You bet.
Good night.
All right. Wow. I knew that was going to be interesting. There's just no question about it. Now, here's one of my thought processes. I was kind of looking at chat a little bit earlier, and the chat room was completely dead for like the first hour and 15 minutes of the show. There's nobody in there, so I was actually communicating with people through my Facebook account, and
that happens. Latecomers getting home from work late, or traffic detained them, or whatever have you. But yeah, that does happen.
Yeah, so one of the listeners that was in chat, kind of pointed out what's the point of having a chat, and I want to apologize for her, because, she does have a point. What's the point of having a chat if nobody's there to monitor it? But there was nobody there for a long time, so it seemed like all the communication went over to Facebook. So,
and unfortunately, we kind of didn't jump back and forth to make sure. So we apologize, Lefty.
Absolutely. And with that being said, once again, we're going to touch ground a little bit on our upcoming events. Saturday night, we're going to be returning to Leslie's Family Tree Restaurant. I've been known to do a couple live broadcasts from that location out in Santaquin. There are still tickets available. And Terry Lee, you want to share how to get them?
Yeah, you can either find the link on TIPA Online on Facebook, or Paranormal Chaos Investigations on Facebook, or you can check us out on the Paranormal Meetup site.
All right, and then we have more things coming up next month. I believe we have Camp Floyd booked on the 21st. And, we're going to have a sign-up for that as well, and we are going to have to keep it kind of capped so everybody can have, a decent experience without having a ton of contamination all over the place. But, there's 3 different buildings. They're all very, very active, in my opinion. And so we got that to look forward, and there's a few other things in the works as well. One of the things that I have coming up next Thursday is going to be, we have Salt Lake Comic-Con coming here for the very first time, and I've been asked to join a panel of paranormal investigators for a Q&A session. And so they asked me to be there between 7 and 9 on Thursday night. So if anybody in the Salt Lake area, or if you have Salt Lake Comic-Con tickets, swing by on Thursday and you'll spot me. I'll be the long-haired guy wearing a Tipper Research shirt. And just say hi and just let me know you heard us on the radio, and just kind of let us know that we're reaching people, and definitely appreciate that. Also, I know that at the Salt Lake Comic-Con that we got Ben Hansen and Jimmy Chunga.
Yeah, Chunga.
I think he was a radio personality,
yeah.
Right? They're going to actually be doing a paranormal investigation at the Fear Factory. I've investigated a little bit with Ben myself, and he's actually a really good investigator.
Yes, he is. He's very thorough.
Yeah, and so I know they're selling tickets for that too, but I have no idea how much, so you'll just have to look into it.
Should be all listed there on the Comic-Con
Absolutely.
sites.
And if anybody just dropped into the last part of this show, we are going to be uploading this show. It's going to be on the website here within the next day or so. So just hang tight and keep checking back with us, and you'll be able to pick up the entire show and hear everything we talked about, including some of the most insane questions I could possibly ask somebody. But I asked, and it made people think, and that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah. The only thing that they're going to be missing out on is they're not going to be able to ask their important questions when it comes to a piece of the show that they are really interested in and have a question.
Well, if there's a large enough demand, we will book them two back on the show again.
There you go.
So, anyway, you guys, I want everybody to have a good night. Thank you for tuning in to Points of Interest on tipperresearch.com. Today is August 29th, 2013. I threw that on there because a lot of people listen to pre-recorded shows and not know what day the show aired. So now you do.
Now you do.
So anyway, we'll talk to you guys next week.
Thanks,
you have a good night.
Good night.
The doom to stay. Go.